going on, Washington Commanders Nation? It's your boy Rio Robinson, back with the latest and greatest on the Rambling with Rio YouTube channel, where we ramble about the Washington Commanders. Today is Thursday, November 2nd, 2 days removed from the trade deadline on Halloween, where things were shaking up here in DC. But we're not here to talk about that. We're not even here to talk about the game this week versus the New England Patriots. It's the midway point, the exact midway point of the season, 8 weeks in. So I felt like it's a good time, a real good time to just have a little progress report, an interim per se for Sam Howell. You know, like school, you don't just get the report card. You get the interim just to let parents know, to let them know what's popping in the classroom. Your kid's doing all right. They're succeeding. They're meeting their goals. They're not meeting their goals. They're misbehaving. We're going to check on one Samuel Howell from Union County, North Carolina. We're here to check on our second-year quarterback, 23-year-old North Carolina Tar Heel, who through 8 weeks of the NFL season so far, I'd say he's the biggest catch-22 there is today, because Sam looks like one or two things. He either looks like an elite quarterback or he looks like an XFL quarterback. He looks great or he looks terrible. And you're going to expect ebbs and flows of a young quarterback. It's a roller coaster. It's wild. It makes you want to pull your hair out. It makes you want to envision a whole future with him when it goes well. It comes with a lot of things, and it most importantly comes with patience when it comes to these guys. But objective critique matters, and I'm always going to objectively critique everybody, because I'm more a fan of the team name on the front of the jersey than the name that's on the back of the jersey. I support whoever plays for the Washington Commanders, but my thing is they could suit up any 53 players. I'm going to root for them, and I'm going to objectively critique all of them, starting with the position that I obsess about, quarterback. Sam Howell, through 8 weeks, 2,146 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Just to put that into perspective, Sam Howell is now on pace for about 4,400 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 16 interceptions. The only quarterback we've ever had here in my lifetime in 32 years capable of statistics of this sort is Kirk Cousins. Shout out to Kirk, and hope he has a speedy recovery for tearing his Achilles, by the way. He got a big bag coming in the offseason because Kirk always gets to a bag. Back to Sam Howell. On pace for 4,426 touchdowns. When you hear that, if you would have asked me before the season if those were the numbers Sam completed the season with, where I thought the team would be, I thought they would be smack dab in the playoffs. But this team sits at 3-5 for a litany of reasons. It's not just on the quarterback, not just on the defense, not just on the coaching. We can divvy up and split up the blame pie a whole bunch of ways to the shit sandwich that Washington has been 5 weeks out of this 8-week season so far in the NFL. But Sam Howell, he has been, these are the names Sam Howell is up there with in passing this year, because it's not his predecessor. It's not the Kenny Pickett's, the Desmond Ritters of the world. This is how passing looks right now in the NFL. Number 1, Tua. Number 2, Kirk. Mahomes 3, Goff, Allen, Sam Howell. Sam Howell is above Jalen Hurts, Matt Stafford, Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr, and Justin Herbert. Just to put into perspective where those statistics lie. But they say women lie, men lie, numbers never do. Numbers don't lie, but numbers deceive. They deceive the truth, and I'm here to dig into exactly how we would grade Sam's first half of the season, and I break down his performances on a basis of a few subcategories. Category number 1, meh. Games where he looked all right. Then category number 2, statistically deceiving game. The stats will tell you something that the performance did not. Games where he looked terrible. And final category, fucking sensational. We're going to start with the meh category, which is to be expected. His first game of the season. We opened up with what seemed like a punk-ass opponent in the Arizona Cardinals, and Sam had a very rough start to the game. I mean, we got a touchdown early. He ended up with a rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and just over 200 yards. But you're not going to leave that game with a drastic take on either side of the young quarterback argument. He didn't show you he could be the long-term guy necessarily. And he also didn't show you that he was a bust. It was a little bit in between. I think we're going to find out who Sam is in these next 9 weeks by finding out what the middle ground and in between is, because he's either great or amazing. I think the true evaluation falls somewhere in between there, and we need to find out just how high the ceiling of that gray area is. And I think he's had one meh performance out of the 8 games he's played so far. Moving to statistically deceiving. The number one statistically deceiving game so far was the Atlanta Falcons game. No, it's a tie. It's 1A, 1B. It's the Atlanta Falcons game and the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears game on paper says 388 yards, almost 400 yards. It says a couple touchdowns, 1 pick. That looks like our young quarterback balled the fuck out. Versus Atlanta, you see 3 touchdowns, no picks, and say, damn, Sam went crazy. Sam had 150 yards passing that day, and the offense actually did not go anywhere. There were actually turnover-worthy plays that didn't end up turning out to be turnovers, and the offense did nothing in the second half. Versus Chicago, you can't give a quarterback a good performance when he's losing 27-3 at halftime. A 1-4 team that is last in sacks comes into your home building, and you can stymie up 3 points at halftime. Statistically deceiving games, the Chicago Bears and Atlanta Falcons game. Neither of those were a good performance for Sam at all. Neither. And I know the comeback efforts, the garbage time stats, they do count, but just keep that same energy. Those are the same stats that y'all used to say that Kirk compiled. So we're going to give the same benefit of the doubt to Sam Howell that we gave to Kirk Cousins, but we got to hold him accountable. 3 points at halftime versus the Chicago Bears is not okay. It's not okay. It's not at all okay. I'm not going to let them pass for that. Those 2 games, the stat lines lied to you. Like I said, numbers don't lie, but they do deceive. They do deceive. And the worst part about in sports, what numbers do, deceiving games like those, empty calorie stat games, they will help whatever the argument is on both sides. If you say he looks bad, you can say what the score was. It's usually somewhere in between. It's usually somewhere in between what the actual eval is. You can use the numbers and say he was great, or you can look at the eye test and say he was not. It's usually somewhere in between. I would give him a D+ grade for both of those games. And I'd give him a C- in the Arizona game. Then there's the ugly. I know exactly what game I'm talking about that leads the ugly. There's 2 of them. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the state of New York ever did to Sam Howell, but that motherfucker slows him down. He turns into a quarterback that I'm not used to seeing. No, I'm used to seeing bad quarterbacking here, but not from this guy. He turns into an XFL DC Defenders level quarterback when he plays against teams from New York, because the Buffalo game, Sam Howell was 97% at fault at why we lost that game 37-3. Because if you watch that game, the offense was moving up and down the field the entire game. We had multiple turnovers inside the red zone. He had 4 picks, no touchdowns. It was bad. Yes, the defense gave up 37, but it wasn't 37 in the fashion that you usually see Washington give up 37 in. I believe in the third quarter, late into the third quarter, we were only down 16-0 in that game, despite the fact that we lived on the Buffalo Bills side of the field. Moving on to the Giants game. That shit was terrible. It'll say 250 yards. It felt like Sam threw for 30 yards that day. Sam looked awful. Sam threw a lot of passes behind receivers that game, and most of the sacks were his fault. I'd put 4 sacks on Sam Howell from that game. Get the ball out of your hand. Learn to have feel and awareness and instincts in the pocket. He's a young quarterback. These are the things that come with the territory when we talk about young quarterbacks. But those games, if you take those games out, if you take the two New York teams off the games we've played so far, the New York game and the Buffalo Bills game, we're talking about Sam Howell amongst the elite in the league right now. Sam Howell is looking like a top 4 quarterback in the NFL if you take out the Giants and the Bills game. He looks fucking electrifying because the good looks fucking sensational, which takes me to my last subcategory for Sam Howell. We talked about the meh. We talked about the statistically deceiving. And we talked about the ugly, the disgusting Bills and Giants game. But his good shit looks fucking phenomenal. And it looks as talented and as rare as anything I've ever seen here playing the quarterback position in my time and my 32 years of life as a Washington football team, Redskins, Commanders fan. The 2 Philadelphia games and the Broncos game, boy, if those were the only 3 games on the schedule so far, you could sign us up for this guy for the next 15 years. Easy. Signing the whole shit away to give him everything. Push all your chips to the center of the table because he looked so fucking good in these games. He has made about 4 to 6 throws in these 3 games that only about 5 or 6 guys in the NFL would even imagine making. No quarterback we've had here since Kirk could make the throws that Sam Howell makes. Fading left versus the Broncos, the touchdown to Terry McLaurin right in the honey hole of the defense. Fucking chef's kiss. Beautiful. He took the Super Bowl runner-up, NFC champion, NFC defending champion Eagles twice, took them to the brink. Took him to overtime, scoring on the final play where he was fucking unstoppable on the final drive of the game. And this week, took him to a 38-31 game where he threw for 404 touchdowns versus the Eagles, versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Phenomenal. His good looks great. That's what makes his eval so fucking hard. He is the biggest catch-22 in the league. But the biggest reason why Sam Howell is the biggest catch-22 in the league is because so many of the sacks are his fault. He's been sacked 41 times in 8 games. So many of those sacks are on him. I will give Sam Howell about 25 of the 41 sacks on him. That's bad. That's really, really bad. Like, that's almost... We can't put you out on the football field because you are a danger to yourself and your teammates bad. It's terrible. It scares the living shit out of me. And that's what makes this whole Sam Howell discussion so interesting because the good is so fucking tantalizing. The good looks so unstoppable. It looks unflappable. He looks so unfazed and cool. And no matter what's happening around him, he just keeps going. He's polished at the podium. He gives you all the characteristics that you want of your franchise quarterback, except awareness. His on-field, in-pocket awareness, that shit gets an F minus. He gets a fucking Z. He scares the fucking soul out of me sometimes. But the good that he does when he's on schedule, when he's on rhythm, and he has his feet tied to his upper half, and the upper half and his lower half are measured, his throwing motion, all of it, it's beautiful. Him and EB make sweet symphonies when Sam's on time. And I think EB has finally figured out a rhythm of blending quick passes, get the ball out of his hand quick, build the confidence, spread the defense out, and then hit him over the top with it. Because I think EB, the offensive coordinator, plays a lot into this conversation of what Sam is right now. These next 9 weeks mean everything for Sam Howell and EB. Because if what the trade deadline didn't show you, it showed you that Washington is going to make wholesale changes to the structure of this organization starting around January 8th, 2024. We're going to have a new head of football, general manager, and coaching staff brought into this building. And when in comes new, pairing it with new ownership, they want to build the clay of a team in their image, in the image that they desire. And they do not have to keep anything that they inherited. But Sam has given you enough to chew on, enough meat on the bone so far. There's not knock on wood, because there's 8 weeks and he could absolutely throw up on himself the next 9 games. And we can say, all right, we know definitively he's not the guy. But I don't think Sam's built like that. Sam's not built like that. Sam's going to fuck around and be top 7 in a lot of QB statistics when we get to week 18 of this season. And that's not a quarterback you can just poo-poo and say, nah, we're good. We're just going to draft the guy. I don't know. We're going to see how this thing plays out over these next 9 weeks. But the grade that I end up on for Sam through 8 weeks of his second year, his sophomore campaign in the NFL, I'm giving Sam a whopping B-. B-. You can call a B- a C+, or you can call a B- a B-. I'm giving him a B- because I can't ignore the fact that he's 6th in the league in passing. He's up there in quarterback rating. He's up there in completions. He's up there in yards, and he's up there in touchdown. All the major quarterback statistics. But he also has 8 picks. He has 10 turnovers in 8 weeks. And he has 41 sacks, and he's on pace to be sacked 86 times. 82 times. He's on pace to go a little bit over what the record David Carr set in the expansion year of the Houston Texans. Like I told you, biggest catch 22 in the NFL. He looks amazing. He looks terrible. We need to find out what the in-between looks like, because the in-between is going to tell us more of what we can expect from Sam Howell going forward on a consistent basis. But if he's not done anything, he showed us there is plenty of meat on the bone of franchise quarterback possibilities, and he deserves every single fucking rep he can get this entire season. And I have not one desire in my body to see Jacoby Brisket play any football for the Washington Commanders for the duration of 2023. B- through 8 games for Sam Howell. Give me your grade for Sam in the comment. Don't be coming at me with no A's and no shit like that. No A's or no F's. He's not failing, and he's not passing with flying colors. The grade falls somewhere in there. Try to keep it as objective as possible. But hey, it is your grade. Let me know in the comments what y'all think Sam Howell's grade for the first half of the season is. I got him sitting at a B-. I should do one of these on Eric Bieniemy too, because I have some thoughts on that guy as well. We got the Patriots on the schedule coming up. I'm going to do a game preview probably Friday night. I'm going to do a stream game preview for that. And tomorrow or tonight, NFC East Roundtable. I got Nikki Gist, my guy Chip Keegi, and DMV Fanatic coming on. We're going to talk some NFC East. We're going to talk some shit. I don't got too much shit to talk about, but I'm going to be there moderating the conversation and adding my Commanders burgundy and gold tinted dialogue throughout the conversation. It's going to be fun, as it always is when we catch up with the division. Huge divisional matchup coming up this weekend with Cowboys versus Eagles. But that's all I got for right now. B- for young slinging Sammy. I want to see him play for 9 more weeks. I think we may really have something special here in the guy, but I'm always going to be hard, and I'm going to be objectively critical of him and every other player on the roster the same. I treat all players equally. That's what we do here on this channel. We keep it raw, we keep it objective, and we keep it fun, because sports is fun. We got to keep it fun. We got to keep it interesting. And that's what we do over here on Rambling with Rio Robinson. That's all I got for right now. Hail to the Washington Commanders. Until next time, out.